With previously being a trauma certified RN working at a level 1 trauma center ED, I've seen my fair share of things that I wish I would never have seen. There's some things that aren't preventable, but there are some things that are preventable. And in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 things that I would never do again or allow my kids to do moving forward. So let's get started. Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new to this channel, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Darty. I'm a board certified psychiatric nurse practitioner. I have experience as a level 1 trauma center ED nurse. I have experience in psych, inpatient, outpatient, and so many different areas throughout that. And I'm here to shed light on things that I absolutely love to do, whether it's mental health, whether it's starting my own private practice, or just the field of psychiatry or being a nurse practitioner. So if you are interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe. Make sure you like this video because it helps me out so much with the YouTube algorithm, and follow me on Instagram at LifeofaPsychNP. So you probably clicked this video because you're interested in finding out the top 5 things that I wouldn't do again, since I've had experience working at a level 1 trauma center ED and was trauma certified for over 4 years. And there are certain things that, yes, it's definitely not avoidable. There are certain things that just happen, and it's unfortunate, but there are certain things that you can do that can be avoidable. And yeah, there's definitely a trend, and in the beginning I was like, no, this is probably just something that it's a one-off, and then now you see it for the second time, third time, fourth time, and you start to see it so many times in a row. And these are things that are definitely avoidable, and certain things that you can do to even be put in this situation. So without further ado, I'm going to be going over the top 5 things that I would never do again or even let my kids do moving forward. So let's go. So the first thing that I would never do again is ride or buy a motorcycle. And I try not to joke around about this word because it's unfortunate, it does happen, but at the same time, this word is heavily used, especially since working in the ED. And unfortunately, people call it donor cycle for a reason. I don't need to go into details, but for the most part, yes, this is something that does occur often. And if you were to ride a motorcycle and if you decide to go that route, make sure you get a good helmet. Put all of your money towards the helmet, and this is a big thing, but realistically speaking, I would never even want to ride on one or even buy one. And you'll notice it's pretty funny because you'll see all of these nurses, especially the ones that are starting off in the ED, they are riding motorcycles just because of traffic in LA and because of what this or that, but they start riding it. But you'll start to notice that more and more of these people that have been riding their motorcycle, they start to get rid of it, sell it, or stop riding it just because of how often they see this happen. And it's unfortunate amount of times that we do see it. I thought in the very beginning it's just something you hear about, but you'll start to see a trend, like certain times of the year that you'll start to see, okay, this is what happened, this is what happened. And even if you were the best rider in the world, there's certain things that you can do to prevent these things, but it's just other people, especially being in California with how busy it is, road rage, and all of these things happening. It's unavoidable, and this is what you see. So definitely never, ever buying or riding a motorcycle. So the second thing I would never do again is leaving my kids unsupervised on a trampoline. And yes, this is a huge thing. You probably think, oh, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? No, things happen, especially with certain trampolines, whether it's at a trampoline park or whether it's a unused trampoline that's been in the sun. You'll notice that these things start to deteriorate, and it's really common for kids to fall off, whether they get a head injury or they have a broken bone, or yeah, The most common one probably I've seen are the elbows. Broken arms, broken elbows. It's so common. And unfortunately, these things happen because their kids weren't supervised, or they go to these huge trampoline parks and they're not supervised because parents are elsewhere because they don't want to jump. And these things happen often. I've gone to a lot of parties and I've seen kids fall off and end up having to go to the hospital, and depending on where they land and how they land. But it's definitely avoidable by just making sure you're supervising it. Obviously, things still do happen, but if you can prevent it as much as possible, then by all means do so by supervising them or just avoiding those things altogether. For me, I probably would just always supervise them. Yes, it's fun to be able to go to those big trampoline parks, but yeah, things happen. And so the third thing that I will never ever do again is light an illegal firework. And this is something that people will think about, like, oh, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? Yes, things do happen. In working in the ED for probably over 4 years and working every single time on 4th of July, I've seen my fair share of times where kids and adults blow off their hands. And it's unfortunate because it happens so often. Probably on average, anywhere, we're pretty busy ED, so probably like about around 5 to 10 where we see either limbs, mostly fingers and hands blown off, but it's pretty scary, especially seeing it. And that's why a lot of the times they'll have ortho, all hands on deck, because of these situations. And then you have to think about all the other things that happen. And unfortunately, illegal fireworks are always going to be there, but if you're going to try to prevent it, try to not to be the one that's going to light it. And there's a reason why they're heavily regulated within the United States, because of that fuse. You kind of know how it's made. The fuse is a little bit longer, and you have the general gist of what's happening. But with these illegal fireworks, a lot of the times their fuse is a lot shorter, or you don't necessarily know how it's made, and it can just blow up out of nowhere, even if there is a longer fuse. And it's crazy, but trust me on this one. Please don't be the one to light the illegal fire. So the fourth thing that I would never do again is honk excessively. And you would think that this is something that doesn't happen often, but unfortunately you'll get situations where road rage is a huge thing, especially in carrying states. Luckily for us in California, we're not a carrying state, but at the same time, people don't care, and whether they're going to try to run them off the road or try to shoot them. And unfortunately, you hear about this often working in the ER. Probably if you have like less than a year of experience in the ER, you won't really see it as much, but the more years that you tack on, you'll start to see it often. And unfortunately, this happens a lot where people either get shot, people either get run off the road, they crash, or they fight. Honking your horn is not a good thing because you never know who you're going to deal with, especially during these times where people are dealing with certain disorders or certain things that aren't necessarily dealt with. And unfortunately, the disorder gets the best of them and they can't control their temper, or they can't control their agitation, irritability, and just go off on someone, especially if they don't necessarily have as much good insight into their thought process. So you definitely have to think about honking your horn. So now I just do it every once in a while, whether it's like a courtesy or I just bite my tongue and just go on with my life, because you never know what's gonna happen. And now that social media is extremely prominent, you see this a lot, and people are just shooting at each other, especially in Texas. It's crazy, people in Texas. I would never even honk my horn in Texas, if not even just like a courtesy. I'll just be like, psh, just drive. But who knows? And yeah, if I were you, try not to honk your horn too much, because yeah, there are bad people out there. So my fifth and final thing, obviously I can go on and on and on, but this is a big one. This is the big one. Putting your feet on the dashboard. I will never do that again. I get so mad at my wife whenever she has her feet on the dashboard, because of all the things that we've seen, well, I've seen. And it's unfortunate, because this is something that, just think about putting your legs on the dashboard, and now you're thinking about how fast this airbag goes off. Boom, there goes everything down there, everything. And seeing it, it's unfortunate. It's like, just sit properly, wait until you get home, and then put your feet up. don't do it in the car. Even though it's pretty comfortable, don't do it, please, just because of how bad this is. And the road to recovery, especially if you do survive this and you don't bleed out, is it's tough. So definitely don't put your feet on the dashboard, please. Everyone that knows me, I've always commented to everyone every time I see it. I always tell people, do not put your feet on the dashboard. People, please listen. This is a huge one, but it's something preventable. This is preventable. Obviously, you can't prevent certain accidents from happening, but if you can put yourself in the best situation to survive the accident, then it's gonna be a lot easier for you instead of doing something stupid like putting your feet on the dashboard and just getting into the accident, right? So we'll see. Sorry, my alarm went off. But yeah, other than that, those are pretty much the ones that I have for now. But if you want more of this, definitely comment down below if you want more of this. So I know it's a different video from what I usually make, but at the same time, I feel like it's fun because people get to know a little bit more about my background, especially being trauma certified RN. If you want to know about my experience there, or the test I had to take, or the training that I had to take to get there, definitely comment down below. But otherwise, have a wonderful day, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like this video, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!